Hello, friends, and welcome to Rise Up in Real Estate, where we are on a quest. We are looking for the extra in the ordinary. And I'm Tad Fulford, and I will be your host on this journey where we will take an honest look at what makes ordinary people extraordinary. Exactly how can we be extra in our personal and our professional lives? In this season of the Rise Up in Real Estate adventure, there will be a monthly rhythm, meaning each month we will have 4 unique episodes. In one episode, we'll tackle a pressing current real estate industry thought. In another, we will chat with a local difference maker in the real estate space. For our 3rd episode, we will host a respected national thought leader. And finally, we will have a 4th bonus and surprise episode. And in each episode, we will be digging into not only what those people think, but who those people are. Along the way, it's my hope that you'll laugh some, you'll be challenged some, you will get inspired some, and if we are lucky, maybe even figure out a way or two you can rise up in your own life and be the best human that you can be. So the challenge is, let's all rise up. Hello, Rise Up Nation. We're here for a special edition of Rise Up in Real Estate. Every once in a while, there are current events that need to be dealt with. And I felt like we're going to take a little bit of a break from the branding discussion that we've had, although your questions about branding have been very good, and I do want to revisit those at a later date. We've had some great discussion around that. But I felt like the news that hit this week that's been in the news, you may or may not watch the news, and that's for a whole nother topic. But the news that has been out there this week is worth talking about, since a lot of us that listen to this are in the real estate space or in the mortgage space. And the news is certainly pertinent to what we do on a daily basis, especially based on where we've been. So most of you might know, or you might have heard so far this last couple of weeks, that there's a couple of banks that are wobbling, to say the least. One bank in particular, Silicon Valley Bank, or SVB, out in California, has closed its doors. Assets have been seized. FDIC's in charge of the bank. There's also one in New York. The name is slipping my mind right now. Credit Suisse, how you say that, is also teetering a little bit. So there's a lot of things in the news lately in the financial sector that is causing some alarm in our space. And so I wanted to talk about it today. Like, what in the world do we do with this? How do we put our minds around it? Now, a lot of you might not watch the news or listen to it for this very reason, but this is something that I think your customers and clients are going to want to know about. And you being, on this podcast, we've kind of committed to each other that we will be the trusted advisors in our spaces. And this is part of that, is being knowledgeable. So how do you deal with news like what we've gotten this week? What do we do with it? How do we process it? What do we do next, etc.? So I'm just going to give you a few minutes worth of what I think, and then you can kind of formulate your plan and go forward. I'm hoping these thoughts resonate. So these banks closing. So what happened? Interesting. This one bank, SVB. They were trying to, from what I understand, and I should say, but when we start here, that I am talking out of school to some regard, because I am kind of researched on this. I've done a little bit of reading on it. I've done some listening to some other experts that I trust speaking about it, but I'm learning along the way as you are. And so what I'm saying here today is my opinion as of this recording. But it doesn't mean that it's gospel. I might even be wrong. I might be misinterpreting things, but this is how I see it right now. So this bank in California was trying to raise some funds, was having trouble raising funds, began to look into the bank a little bit and realized that there's some problems. Primarily the people that are invested in this bank are tech, for the way that I understood it, tech startups. We're holding monies there. And if you know anything about the stock market, or you paid attention, I know a little bit, I know enough to get in trouble probably, but tech stocks have not done well. And actually, if you look at the stock market lately, it is responding very directly to this news of these banks, but tech stocks have struggled. And it's interesting. Tech is thing that we all talk about all the time, and yet tech stocks are struggling. That's an interesting topic for another day. But we find out this news, right? This news, this bank is folding up. And what's the first thing that pops in most of our minds? The first thing that comes to most of our minds is this the same thing that we experienced in 2007, 2008, 6, 7, and 8, where those of us that were in the business back then, we had bank issues. Like banks started closing. A lot of them closed over a period of months. And it was devastating to our business. It was shocking. And so when we hear about something like this beginning, like this, just the beginning of this kind of thing happening, I think a lot of us have PTSD and we go, oh my gosh, what is coming? Like, is this the beginning of the end again? Or are we going to have to reinvent ourselves? And nobody knows the answer to that 100%. But I wanted to start by saying that doesn't look like, at least an initial 30,000 foot view of this particular bank or these few banks, doesn't look like the banks are the same. Back in the day, 2006, 7, 8, and forward, you probably remember this, but the bank issues were directly related to mortgage issues. Like a lot of more than value loans were written, a lot of no income verification loans were written, faulty loans were written, and when those began to be called, there was not the equity nor the means to meet the requirements of those loans. And so the banks had to close because of these faulty loans, and the loans were directly related to real estate. These banks that we're talking about today, current day, are not related to real estate. At least so far, that has not been the issue. And so right now, I think the first thing that you need to put the feather in your cap is this is not the same as 2007. Take a deep breath and say, hey, something's going on in the financial sector, right, in the financial world, but it's not the same as 06, 07, 08. And I think the first thing to do is to put your mind around that and say, it's not the same, so I'm not going to panic, right? I think the next thing that you need to do is exactly what I just said. And I think this is something we need to learn to do better in all regards is stay calm. I think in any case, like if you see a good emergency room doctor, a good paramedic, a good judge sitting on his stand, one of their characteristics, one of their probably most endearing and most professional characteristics is that they are always in control of their emotions, or they seem to be. They stay ahead of things. They know that they're training. And I guess you ask, why are they that way? Like, why is a paramedic so calm? Why is an emergency room doctor or nurse so calm? Why is a judge sitting on the stand so calm? They're calm because they're trained. And they're calm because they are trained such that the things that they experience in everyday life are not going to be as bad as their training, right? They're same with military, like soldiers or police officers. In most cases, when they are faced with adversity, they've been trained to handle it. And so they handle it with calmness, and they can make wise decisions, and they can lead groups of people, and they can guide. That's what we need to be. We should be educated enough to, even in the midst of adversity, be calm for our customers and clients, the people we're trying to serve. Taking a deep breath and saying, okay, what are the facts? What is fiction? And what can I do to excel or lead in this case? What are the actions that I need to take? What are the actions that I don't need to take? Who do I need to get involved with? Where do I need to refer to, etc.? Just as if you're an emergency room doctor. I think that's my best case example or parallel is how do they act in times of stress, not stressed, right? So first thing is not the same as 2006, 2007, in my opinion. You need to stay calm. Third thing I would say to you in this case is you need to be informed. You might be the guy or the gal out there that's saying, hey, I'm not watching the news. I'm trying to stay removed from the news. I'm tired of the news. Politics bores me. Controversy bores me. Arguing bores me. But I think what you need to do in a case like this is you need to be informed. You can't just say to your customers and clients, I don't watch the news. Now, it's okay not to watch the news, but when something major happens in this is my opinion again, in your sector, in your sphere, in your area of expertise, for you to say you don't, you're not informed when you can be, I think your customers and clients are going to see through that. So I would say that you don't need to watch the news, but you need to find a source of information where you can find out what is going on, whether it be a coach, a mentor, a peer, an article, group of articles, documents, news channels. I would say if you choose to go the route of watching the news or listening to it online or reading it online, that you choose 2 or 3 sources so you get maybe most of the story. If you choose one, there's probably going to be biases. Unfortunately, you need to choose more than one so that you can get both sides or differing sides of the story. And don't always choose the sources that say what you want them to say. I think that's a good it's what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. I think that's the sign of a good coach, someone that'll shoot straight with you. I've already made a few phone calls to people that I respect and trust and much more wise than I am, much more experienced than I am, and asked their opinion. And that's where some of the ideas that I'm giving you today have been formulated. So find your source of information. You need to know, not like 2006, not like 2007, probably. You need to stay calm. You need to be informed. You need to find a source of information. You need to also realize as we move through something like this, that it may not be the same as 2007, may not be exactly the same issue. It may not even be directly related to our sector. But what I know for sure is it will affect, or it could affect, consumer confidence. What I know may happen is people, and this happens when the stock market rattles or when things like this hit the news. Anytime there's breaking news, whether it's a weather event or someone in politics dies, or we have an issue like this where there's something major in the world, like the balloons over South Carolina, in coastal South Carolina, and we had those balloons over. When that breaking news hit, it makes people pause to at least see, what is this we're dealing with? And when something happens in the financial sector like this, it makes people, our customers and clients, and even banks, even other realtors, it makes us all pause and say, okay, what exactly are we dealing with? That pause might lead to a dip in business immediately. Like, it might cause us to notice a little bit of a hesitation. Like, we're going into spring and a lot of our markets should be heating up and should be getting better. And rates haven't done anything too crazy that I can tell. There should be a little uptick in business based on what everybody's saying, but something like this could cause consumer questions, a decline in consumer confidence, they call it. And people may just stay and say, wait a minute, let's see what this really is. Let's stand back and watch. And this is where I think your guidance is going to be invaluable. So remember, there will be a lack in consumer confidence. The next thing I need you to do is, and I need for all of us to do, is to lead with confidence, right? Just like that paramedic who gets on the scene and doesn't panic and walks over to whomever needs their service and handles it with grace and ease. You need to be that person. You need to be speaking to your customers and clients and peers, coaches, the public, if you get the chance, and exuding confidence, calm confidence that we've been here before. And now when I say been here before, I mean we have dealt with crisis before. That's why I love the story, whether you believe in the Remax brand or not. The story of the brand is a valuable one because they've been through 7 recessions and have been strong through them all, have figured it out and have led in all cases. That's what you need to be in this world that we're living in. When something like this hits the news, you need to be informed, you need to be calm, and you need to be confident. You need to be able to speak to your clients with grace. And this doesn't always mean that you tell them the answers, because you don't know the answers. I don't know the answers. But just as you can hear in my voice, a calm confidence today as I talk to you, you need to exude to them, hey, we are going to be fine. We together are going to figure this out, right? And you need to know that will translate into people trusting you, people looking to you for leadership, people looking to you for where do I go next? So calm, informed, confident, not like 2007. There will be a decline potentially in consumer confidence. Be willing to be okay with the fact that the future is uncertain. When something like this hits the news, it's always shocking. Like we're always, oh gosh, what's next, right? Well, the truth of the matter is we don't know what tomorrow holds. So the best thing to do is always act the way that you should today. Do the things that you know today that you should do in order to put yourself in the position that you want to be in. If that means you're close to retirement, you want to buy that vacation home today, do it. Yeah, don't wait for the perfect time, because there is none, and you don't know that there is even a tomorrow promised. If you live or own property along the coast of South Carolina, you probably need insurance. We Insure Advocates is a locally owned independent agency with industry-leading service support. Our team of customer-centric agents can explain your coverage options and help you craft an insurance program that fits your needs and budget. Data-driven for better value, people-led for better service. That's the difference of we. For all of your property insurance needs, please find us at weinsureadvocates.com or call us at 843-491-6990. So we have a little bit of rattling going on in the banking industry, where there's a little bit of uncertainty out there amongst consumers. You have to help people weigh out whether the consumer doubt is more important than their desires, right? And you have to talk through this with them. The last thing I'll lead you with, and I want you to let's have some dialogue over all of this, because I think it's important as a special edition of Rise Up in Real Estate. I think the thing that this screams to me, just like the Great Recession of 2006, 2007, the high interest rates in the 80s and 90s, COVID that hit, the election that came, the unrest at the Capitol, the balloon over South Carolina, all these things that happen in our world, the war in Ukraine with Russia, all of these things affect people's mindset. And I want you to, number one thing I want you to take away from this discussion is conflict or uncertainty or anything going on in the world, like those things I just listed, always leads or can lead to healthy discussion, curiosity, and discovery. So anytime something happens like this, pick up the phone and have some conversations with people that are in your circle. In this case, customers and clients. Call them. I said this almost a day after, 2 days after I did a video on this, after the COVID was announced. We were at Disney, and they were closing down Disney, and a lot of crazy things were going on. Remember, for probably 18 months, a lot of crazy happened. A lot of tragedy, a lot of heartbreak, a lot of confusion, a lot of maybe misguided information. I mean, the list goes on during COVID. But 2 days into it, I stressed this. Coaches were stressing this. And I think it's the same thing that's true today with interest rates, with war in Ukraine, with the bank unrest, with the pending election, political stresses at an all-time high, is pick up the phone and find out how this makes people feel. It's really a great opportunity to pick up the phone and call people. And just, you don't have to you could start by saying, you could script it, you can write it all out. I don't have a position. I'm not sure where we are headed. I'm not calling to give you my answers. I'm just 100%. I am curious. I love that word. I'm curious. How do the latest bank events affect you? How do they make you feel? How does it affect your actions? How does it affect your mindset? Now, by calling and then just stop. By calling and asking this question, you're going to get a lot of information from people. First of all, you're going to realize, do you have the right kind of relationship with people that you can even make this call? And if you don't, you should, and that's something you can work on. But if you do have that kind of relationship and you can have this dialogue, this discussion with people that are close to you, and it has nothing in my mind immediately to do with real estate. It has to do with being productive human beings. Let's figure out how people feel. When you figure out how they feel, then you can relate to them. You can discuss with them. And what that does is bring you closer together as humans. And then that will inevitably, with some people, lead to business in the future. But you ask them questions like, how does it make you feel? You'll find out also how many of your clients really care. You'd be surprised. Maybe some people say, I haven't even heard about it. I don't watch the news. And you know what you do? You don't elaborate on it and drone on and on like maybe I'm doing in this podcast, but you simply, now you know who they are. You take good notes. You write that in their notes. So the next time you call and there's another current event and you're asking them and they say that again, you're like, this lady does not pay attention to what's going on in the world, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If somebody says to you, I don't watch the news, that needs to be in their notes because current events are not an issue for them. But there's something major happen. You might want to call them and say, hey, I know you don't watch the news. Imagine how good that call would be if you could call them up and say, hey, I know you don't watch the news, but this happened today, and I thought you might want to know about it. Now you're an informed counselor, right? You'll also learn some things in the about where people stand, what they believe in, how their threshold for fear is, where they are in their purchasing decisions, in their life decisions, how held up they are by current events. Does it affect their decision-making processes at all? You'll learn so much if you ask the right questions, listen, and then dialogue. Now, I can't encourage you enough to stay in curiosity mode. Now, if somebody asks you, what's your opinion? Tell them. If someone asks me that, I'll do that. If they say, give me what you think is going on or how you think it's going to affect us, or because you're their trusted advisor. If you've done a good job with your database, you're going to be asked that question. And if you then you say, hey, in my opinion, so-and-so, in my opinion, so-and-so, in my opinion, so-and-so. But you want to ask them how they feel. Ask them also, what can I do to help you with the way that you feel? Is this going to affect your real estate purchasing or selling decisions? Just ask. You're in curiosity mode, gathering information so that you can help them better in the future. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Now, the other alternative is just to not do it. And I don't think this is best done. You can do a video on this to start the discussion, like I'm doing this podcast. But I think the real value is not in texting. It's not in emailing in this instance. It's in maybe video calling. I mean, can you imagine having a Zoom with someone and having some discussion about how does this bank crisis or pending bank crisis, potential bank crisis, how does it affect your thought processes? But have these conversations. And the reason you should have these conversations is because people are probably thinking it in their head. And if you let them collaborate with themselves on an issue like this, you might get left behind, and you don't want to get left behind. And by the way, you care. And by the way, you're in curiosity mode. You don't really know exactly what's going to happen or where we're headed, but you want to talk to them about it so that they're now you're friends collaborating. And I'm sure you can reminisce. Maybe you could ask them questions like if they say, gosh, it really has me worried. Well, why does it have you worried, Mr. Smith? Well, it's got me worried because in 2007, I had a bankruptcy, or I had to foreclose on my home, or I lost an investment property and ended up having to pay all this money back to the bank, even though I didn't still own the property. I wanted to do what's right. You will learn so much about people if you ask questions in time of crisis. So, gosh, I talk fast. Those are my thoughts on this bank issue that's just hit the news recently. I'm going to go watch the news tonight just to find out if there's more on it. It's a Thursday and Friday nights are always a great night to watch the news because they're wrapping up for the weekend, kind of, and they're trying to. I think they're trying to, crescendo the stories to the weekend, so we have something to sit around the fire and talk about with our families and our friends. But I'm going to watch and see what the latest updates are. I want to remind you that it's not, at least initially, like 2007, in my opinion. You need to be calm. You need to be confident. You need to find a source of information. You need to realize that this is going to cause probably some consumer doubt. And because of that consumer doubt, you need to have some dialogue with scripting, at least in your mind, about how you're going to guide these conversations. You need to have some dialogue so that you can help people say out loud that they have consumer doubt. They can say out loud they're fearful. They can say out loud, I'm going to wait. You can let them say out loud that it isn't going to affect me at all. I'm moving forward. It makes me want to move even faster. So these are the things that I would put my mind around. If we have further updates on this issue, I'll come back and do another special edition of the Rise Up in Real Estate podcast. But I felt obligated today to bring you this. By the way, is being recorded on Thursday, March the 16th, 2023, and we'll see how we go from here. But I look forward to hearing your thoughts, Rise Up Nation. And remember, as a trusted advisor, you will help us navigate even uncertain times. And in uncertain times, leaders lead. Well, hey, that's a wrap, folks. Thank you so much for listening to Rise Up in Real Estate. If you liked hanging out with us today, please find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Rise Up in Real Estate. Also, follow us right now on your favorite podcast host to hear more episodes. We really appreciate you spending some of your time with us. And until next time, let's do each other a favor and all help each other rise up.